So, here's a couple questions you've probably never been asked. What is the most average game you've ever played? What is the most average movie you've ever seen? What is the most average show you've ever seen? What is the most average sporting event you've ever seen? Probably haven't asked any of those questions because average experiences are forgettable. There's 1,000 average experiences out there. The average, by definition, is the most likely event that takes place. So therefore, you should forget everything that's average, right? Well, sorta. Why don't we switch up the black background a little bit? Yeah, there we go. Open this game cartridge. Why is my arm in the shot? Here's the problem with reviewing games you played when you were 7 years old. You owned that game when you were 7, and 7-year-olds are stupid. In this case, I lost it on a trip to the Philippines, and when you combine the heat death of the universe, and the fact that apparently on Amazon they only sell the goddamn manual, and the game's a DS game from 2007, fuck it, we're emulating it. The Battle/Combat of Giants series is a dinosaur dragon bug fighting series produced by iconic game company Ubisoft, part of the weird trend at the time where AAA developers tried to make children's games for the DS. It surprises me how many entries in this series there actually were. There were DS games, Wii games, 3DS games, and Flash games? This is the worst game. Full disclosure, while I have played this game before as a child, I've actually never been able to finish it. So all of these years I've imagined what the great ending to this game is. And I'm sure the ending is amazing, because this is the kids' game, and kids' games always have the best endings. Now, before we start, we have to pick a dinosaur. There are 6 types of dinosaurs in the game. Ravenous predators, venomous predators, witty scavengers, horned territorials. You know that moment when you realize a DS game has a better vocabulary than you do? Long necks and mighty tanks. Oh, what the hell happened? Did the thesaurus break 2/3 through? Did they run out of pretentious ways to name dinosaurs? They couldn't have called them mountainous backs or elongated horse or something? Each dinosaur plays a little bit differently. The ravenous predators are glass cannons. All offense, no defense. Just hope to God they can rush away through everybody and not get sneak attacked after a battle. The vicious predators are the same thing, but shittier. Moving on. The witty scavengers, or raptors in English, are a speed-type dinosaur, who rely on using more attacks to do more damage. The raptors do more damage and are faster in the overworld than their counterparts, the horned territorials, who have more defense. And finally, the mighty tanks are defensive, so you're going to rely on healing yourself a lot, whereas the long necks also rely on healing, but do a little bit more damage, but a little less healing. Important note, the defense in the game is healing, not reduced damage, which makes no sense to me, the same way that speed doesn't mean, go first, because that's determined by another thing in the game, it's just having more attacks. Now, with all that said, we're going to go with the Allosaurus of the Vicious Predators, and we gotta pick a name. I'm bad with names. Just randomly generate one. Kondwani Confortola, Claire Yamasaki, Jagadish Southers, Johan Jane, Aspajorn. No, that's Asbjorn. Let's go with that one. Now, most of this review will be me playing the adventure mode, as the only other modes are quick match, where you replay fights you do in the adventure mode, and multiplayer, which I wouldn't have been able to do even if there wasn't a virus trying to kill all of us. Alright, so here's the adventure mode, and wait a minute. Okay, nothing but the game's been bad so far. The graphics look okay, soundtrack's pretty good. What happened to the story? It's an adventure mode. Isn't there a story that usually goes with adventure modes? I mean, I guess Melee didn't have a story, but that's a fighting game. And don't say, well, it's a Battle of Whatever series game. That means they don't have story. No, it doesn't. The Dragons one has a fucking paragraph on Wikipedia about the story. About the Ebebu dragons and the Salmu dragons and the Nertu, and here it's just, here's a dinosaur, here's a grassland, have fun. Alright, I've run into the Styracosaurus. I used to be able to pronounce that. What's the pronunciation?
Styracosaurus.
Yeah, that one. Are you ready for some dinosaur fights? I have to draw pictures. I have to draw pictures. Alright, so it is time for Mark's drawing boards. We're going to start off with drawing a person. Now, obviously, with the experience I have with this game, I am an expert artist. We have the head there, you know. He's a very skinny person, I guess, whoever this is. Like, I'm already bad at drawing. Yeah, like drawing through a lens, and it's just impossible. Oh my god, why is one of his feet curved? You know what? There's our person. He has no mouth. Okay, maybe give him pants at least. Yeah, there we go. Pants, a nose, like a big smile. He wants to kill you, you know. Ears. And there we go. There's our person. Oh god, what the fuck is that? Okay, windshield. Just draw the windshield, draw the wheels. It looks like if the blue Falcon was bought at a dollar store, but okay, we'll take it. Alright, tree. Now, this shouldn't be too hard. It's a tree, but we haven't started all that well, so who knows. Alright, tree. There we go. Nice stump. I gotta get, I don't know, just do like a basic tree like that, you know. There's technically a tree. Got some branches, gotta do some leaves. Just a very, it looks more like a person than my actual person, honestly. Video game controller. Okay, it shouldn't be that hard. I just do this. There we go. You gotta put the analog stick. The analog stick's over here. You got the D-pad. There we go, and there we go, the Wii U. We got shit. It's gonna be a difficult one to draw, obviously, for many reasons. So you gotta just start at the top. I'm gonna start at the top here. There we go. Gotta get the framing of the shit, you know. Frame the sides, and we gotta. There we go. And we gotta write the words in. And there we go. The drawings are important because if you want to go first, you have to outdraw the CPU by getting a higher score than them. Which sounds impossible on paper, but you remember, it's a kid's game, the CPU can't score that high. As long as you get a score in at least the 80s, you should be doing okay. Although if you get a score that's 60 or below, your attacks will do pretty much half damage. So be careful with how many moves you use, because the more moves you use, the harder the drawing gets. But, since there's unlimited continues in this game, there's not much punishment in getting a low score on the drawing section, so you will get a lot of time to get better at these drawings. It only takes about a couple of hours to really master these drawings to get at least an 80 or higher on even the hardest drawings in the game. Figuring out which direction I should start to draw in was a fun challenge. Unfortunately, once you get to the point where you're mastered at the drawings, the game gets incredibly boring. It's the only gimmick it really has going for it, so once that's out the window, yeah. In each level, you need to collect 100 eggs and 4 fossils. Collecting eggs can also allow you to upgrade your attack, defense, or speed by using spikes, armor, and wings. Yeah, wings boost speed, which makes no sense at all. But you know what also makes no sense? Who is this mysterious person who accepts eggs as currency? I guess Yoshi's literally throwing money away. The dinosaurs you fight will drop a different amount of eggs. The yellow ring dinosaurs will drop 5 to 20, whereas the red ring dinosaurs, the boss ones if you will drop 50 eggs and sometimes a new move. Now, you may have noticed that on this map there are 5 question marks. 4 of them are fossils, so what's the 5th one? No, it's not Ubisoft miscounting. You see, if you uncover one of those fossils, you'll get... Is it Pikachu? Fuck! No, it's a phone booth. A fucking phone booth. It's a sentient phone booth that attacks by... I mean, to be fair, it was a phone booth fighting a dinosaur. How did you expect that to end? Ah, yes. If you know anything about this game, it's probably the hidden bosses. And that's probably for good reason, because they are some of the strangest bosses in a Western video game I've ever seen. Like maybe in Japan, watching a dinosaur fight a tractor makes sense. But Ubisoft, I mean, I'd expect the bosses to be like a dragon, or a fighter jet, a robot, or like a Ubisoft tie-in. Not this. They're not interesting. They're just there. They're clearly not supposed to be there. They clash with everything about this game. But they're just defiant. They don't give up. They keep going. You know, the obvious reviewer tactic would be to start screaming, "What were they thinking?" But I don't know if that's the right question here. I think the correct question would be, why wouldn't they do this? Because really think about it. We're talking about Battle of Giants Dinosaurs. Yes, dinosaurs fighting each other is awesome in every context, with the only exception being when it's done on a low budget for a Nintendo DS game. So if you're making a game like this, a game that you probably don't want to make because nobody dreams of making children's DS games, what do you do to make your game memorable? What can you do with the budget you have and with what you have to work with? From that point of view, it makes perfect sense why they put in the hidden bosses. It gives this game a sense of danger, that no matter how safe you feel from other dinosaurs roaming around, that there is a hidden fossil that could sneak up on you at any moment. But because you have to get all the fossils to beat the levels, you have basically no choice but to run into a hidden boss. And that's genius. Because let's face it, nobody's ever going to do a review of any of the other games in the series. And yet, I know a bizarre amount of people who remember this silly little DS game for their goal of making this game memorable to be considered a failure. That's an accomplishment. I think it is. Because you have to remember, video games are made by corporations, but they're also made by people. And they're made by people who know they'll never be known for making individual video games. The sacrifices they make have to be commended, even if they're the ones made for Battle of Giants Dinosaurs. And with the discussion, if a brief one, about the most interesting thing about this game, you may even wonder why this review even exists. Doesn't seem that noteworthy. Another piece of DS shovelware to be forgotten, like all the other DS shovelware. When we talk about the history of anything, we usually talk about the highs and the lows. We never talk about the status quos, the maintaining of things. There's just no reason to review an average DS game from more than 10 years ago. And the game agrees. It's level 4. Except no, it isn't. It's still level 1 again. It's the same level, they just moved the trees and the bushes around. And bear in mind, this is the game where literally all you do is draw pictures of dinosaurs. So to see the same levels over and over and over again, it just screams laziness. I mean, what kind of idiots would half-ass a game like this just because it's made for children? Alright. Just hold on, Aspajorn. Your pointless quest will end someday. There are 9 levels in total in the game. Levels 1, 4, and 7 are the grasslands level, levels 2, 5, and 8 are the desert level, and levels 3, 6, and 9 are the wetlands. So, if you're counting at home, that means this game only really has 3 levels. And the idea that any game can be made this side of the millennium with 3 levels is just so sad that I'm not even gonna say anything. Just wow. And if you're curious, since it is the only thing left to be curious about, what are the remaining 7 hidden bosses? Here you go. Here's all 7. Now, admittedly, it doesn't get as weird as the phone booth ever did, but still, I mean, you have a rocket ship that attacks... a rocket ship attacking at all makes no sense, because they're literally only for travel. That's the whole point of a rocket ship. It attacks by using a move that is called Stinger? And the fire truck, which you might think, well, maybe it attacks by using the hose or, you know, it runs into you or something. No, it uses a move called Rodeo, which is apparently using the ladder on top of it as an attack. I should have previously mentioned that all the hidden bosses actually only have one drawing you have to do, which makes some of them piss easy, and some of them incredibly hard. Like the rocket, you got this tiny little picture you gotta draw. Even on the highest difficulty, when you have like 2 seconds to draw it, it's still really easy. But then you get the monster truck, which wouldn't have been that hard had you not also had to draw the outline of the wheels. And not just, oh, you just draw the bottom. No, you have to do a full circle while drawing the wheels. And you don't have the time to do that because it gives you approximately 4.5 milliseconds to draw this whole thing. And that's how I died. Oh haha, Mark died in a kid's game. Okay, hey, if you want to try to draw a monster truck using a mouse on a laggy DS emulator, then go ahead, try it. I'm sure you'll die 4 times before I even die once. Here we are, the 9th and final level. And it's just the 3rd level again. There is no final boss. If you count the red ring and Kylosaurus as a final boss, you are much more charitable than I am. You can fight any of the dinosaurs in any order in every level, so anything could be your final boss. One of these lackey dinosaurs could be your final boss, as it was for me. It's not a punishment of the game, it's just... I kinda wish there was something big at the end, like a goofy dinosaur with like laser beams on it or something, not just... nothing. And what does Aspajorn get for going through all this? That's it. That's all you get. You get to hear your dinosaur and his stupid roar 5,000 times. But hey, could be worse. I could have picked the raptors instead. You one of the subplots, I guess, of Battle of Giants Dinosaurs' history is the decreasing role that the hidden bosses had in the games. In the Wii game called Dinosaur Strike, there were 4 hidden bosses. In the 3DS game, 1. This seems to me that either Ubisoft wanted to clamp down on the weird bosses, or they just gave up on trying. And look, I'm not gonna act like this game was only good because of the hidden bosses. It's actually pretty good in other ways too, I think. It's not great at anything, but it's good at a couple things. But it seems to me that Ubisoft over time was clamping down on it. And as much as I love Brocco Lee, who was a piece of broccoli that wore boxing gloves and a headband, I mean, he was a boxer named after Bruce Lee. Did they forget that Bruce Lee had legs? Was he worth fighting 4 times in the same game? I mean, he is to Battle of Giants Dinosaurs what the Imprison was to Zelda. It was the first time I had looked at a series and went, at 10 years old, this is jumping the shark, isn't it? And the damnedest thing is, Battle of Giants Dinosaurs 3D, Combat of Giant Dinosaurs 3D, for some reason they went back to the European name, actually is probably a better game in theory. It has a combat system that fits dinosaurs better. It's this punch-out, real-time action kind of thing. It has an actual story with an actual main villain and final boss, but it's just a worse game, because it's just so bland and so unremarkable that who cares? Who's gonna remember this game? It did everything it was supposed to do, and yet no one will ever remember it. But everyone's gonna remember the stupid game with the phone booth, because at least it gave him something different. Sure, Battle of Giant Dinosaurs may have more flaws, but it was also a lot more ambitious, especially for a game that never really needed to be. And sure, the gameplay's monotonous and kind of boring over time, which does make it, I think, the most average game ever made. I don't enjoy playing it all that much, but I kind of respect it for trying to do something when they really had no reason to. Because a story does not have to be about the best or the worst. If a story has struggle, it's worth being told.